So I had to cut another friend off.
Who?
One of my friends, I'm not going to say his name, but
And why?
well, I called him and asked him what he was doing. He said he was taking a shower. I don't know why he felt the need to tell me that, but I told him, congratulations, I'm proud of you. And he said, yeah, man, you know, sometime it gets to that point of the week.
So he only showers once a week?
You guessed it. I didn't know how to take that. What do you mean sometime it gets to that point of the week? He said, you know, when you that dirty. You know what I mean? I said, no, I don't. No, I don't. It gets to that point of the day, every day. And then he started
2 to 3
laughing.
times a day.
Yeah. Yeah, he said that time of the week. I'm not exactly sure what he meant by that, and I'll never know because I cut him off. But speaking of cleaning, now y'all don't know this, but my lady has a habit of hitting me up about things when it's entirely too late. And she does it very well, better than anyone I've ever witnessed. And she does it once again because she always tells me about things when there's nothing I can do about it or it's too late to adjust. And I'm having a bad week. If you can't hear it in my voice, let me apologize ahead of time for being MIA and for the podcast being late. I have been under the weather, y'all, since I got back from my godfather's funeral. And I had a feeling it was going to happen. All that handshaking. We in the church. You know how it goes. I wasn't fist pumping in the church. I was shaking hands, and here we are. Shout out to Nate. She was right. Now, I've been under the weather.
Are you feeling better?
I'm feeling a little better. I'm not completely there. I have a show on Sunday, which I'll get to later, so I'm trying to rest as much as I can because obviously I need to be 100% for the show, but I also want to be 100% for y'all, which is why I'm recording late this week. And I'm not quite there, but I'm getting there. But I had
Better late than never.
True. I had 2 days where I just let my home turn into a wreck. I was doing too much. I was giving advice to sit down, rest, relax in the bed. My lady is away. That's why she's joining us via phone this episode. She's handling business in New York. I'm in the studio. And so I'm alone. I'm sick. I'm alone. And most grown adult men don't do well being sick and alone. And I wasn't doing the best. You know how you just let things go for a little bit? I let things go. I wasn't cleaning. I wasn't doing the dishes. I wasn't doing anything. I was just in the bed dying. That's what I was doing. Feeling sorry for myself.
So dramatic.
And she calls me. I told myself 2 days of this is all you're getting. That's it. And on the third day, you're going to get up and you're going to get to business. She calls me on the third day. Just so happens. And says, hey, today is the Chinese New Year. And I said, well, that's awesome. What do we do? Buy Chinese food? Because that's all year. She said, no. But you just dealt with the year of the snake. This is the year of the horse. And maybe you should follow the tradition and do what they do so that you won't have bad luck this year. And I certainly listened because I've had enough of it last year. So she tells me in order to have this, I cannot clean for 24 hours. Y'all, my place looks like shit. And she tells me this on this day of all days. I cannot clean. So now I'm like, what exactly does that mean? Because I have mad dishes that need to be cleaned, so I can't wash dishes? No. Can I load the dishwasher? I actually Googled this. And it said technically you can load the dishwasher because that's not cleaning, but I didn't want to take any chances. So now I have to use new plates, everything new, and just keep everything already dirty. I can't do laundry. I can't clean up the mess that's around the place. I got clothes everywhere. It looks like a man has given up on himself in this place. And now I can't clean. And I get 3 phone calls from family saying, hey, yo, we on the way. On the way where? They come into my place now and I can't clean. I'm either going to sit there and be embarrassed by my family who's coming over to try to keep me company and help me get back on my feet, or I'm going to risk having bad luck for the entire year. Mind you, I've definitely been a little bit alone, so I could use the company. What would you do?
Tell them I'm sick and contagious. See you tomorrow.
Well, they knew I was sick. That's why they were coming over. They were just going to drop off some medicine and, say hello from the kitchen kind of thing. But I couldn't let them do that because of how the kitchen looked. I didn't even know if I could wash my ass.
So,
I don't know the rules.
I did see that you can't wash your hair.
So I don't know if your ass counts. What are the rules? And you didn't tell me any of the rules.
I thought about that after I took my second shower for the day.
After the fact.
Did I shower too many times?
I think washing your ass should count as cleaning. So if you didn't clean anything else and you cleaned your ass, I think you defeated the purpose. And you didn't have to call me and tell me this either. I was completely fine going along about my day, about to clean up everything in my life, including my act. And here you come talking about, not today. I have to wait until tomorrow. So it was a pigsty. It was horrible around here. Now, for the record, I did wash my ass. I'm not my friend.
Good job.
Yet and still, I believe that there was a message in the fact that I couldn't clean up, because with me, there's always a message. And I don't know if my lady realizes that we're not Chinese. I'm not sure why she felt the need to share this information.
It was all over my TikTok.
Thanks. I was completely fine. Mind you, it's Black History Month. But here I am, embedding myself into a different culture to try to reap different results in my life. And there's a lot of people in the world who are not willing to embed themselves in other cultures or accept other cultures as equal in order to better their personal lives. There's a lot of people not willing to do this. And I feel sad for these people. I feel sad. I said that last week. I feel sad for anybody who watched Bad Bunny or didn't watch it. But if you watched it with an attitude so you couldn't appreciate it, I feel sad for you. I do. And it's the same way I feel for the people who would have cleaned up anyway. Because, hey, what does that culture have to do with me? Let me tell you something. I am a fan of other cultures. I am a fan of educating myself. I am a fan of learning. And I've had enough bad luck in my life. And if this can help, I'm all for it. Send me the lessons. A lot of time, life will say, rest your mind. Stop overworking. Forgive somebody. Don't chase this person. Don't chase that. Don't respond to that text. And y'all like, nah, I'm going to fight it anyway. Listen to your mind. These messages come from where they're supposed to come from in order to give you some insight on what you are supposed to do. And it's not always going to be from a place where you're comfortable receiving the message. It's not always going to be from a person that you're comfortable getting the message from. But you have to be willing. You have to be willing, and I was. And so I left the dishes there. I left laundry all over the place. I left clothes on the floor that I said I was going to get to tomorrow. I'm eating from dishes. I'm way in the back of the dishes. Y'all know the dishes you ain't seen in 3 years? I'm using those. I'm pulling out the dishes I don't even normally use. The chinas, if you will. Somebody see what I did. But you know what the lesson here was?
What?
Maybe I had to sit in that mess for a reason. Because if you like me, it's hard to sit in a mess. It's hard to be in a storm. It's hard to not feel as if you have it all together and everything is organized. And you feel like it's not okay to not be okay. And I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. Maybe this season of life isn't messy. Maybe it's marinating. I'm talking to somebody. Maybe these plates that are stacked up in your life are not chaos. Maybe they're evidence that something was cooked. I'm cooking. When you're in transition, it always looks like disorder. When you're evolving, it looks like it's all falling apart. When you're being repositioned, it feels like you're being removed or forgotten about. But sometimes, you're not being buried. You're being separated from what can't go where you're headed. Some things can't go, some people can't go. Some emotions can't go. A lot of that baggage you've been carrying, it can't go. So I left my house a mess for one day, but nothing collapsed. The world didn't end. Blessings didn't evaporate. The sky didn't fall. And maybe that's the lesson. You don't have to clean up every misunderstanding. You don't have to respond to every narrative. You don't have to sweep every room just because somebody tracked dirt in it. Sometimes the strongest move is letting it sit and letting time expose what's real. Because if it's yours, it won't need defending forever. If it's aligned, it won't need forcing. And if it's God ordained, it won't need sweeping. All you got to do is give it time. Welcome to In the Moment.
I'm in the moment. Stay in the moment. Yeah, hey, look, check. I'm in the moment. They try to hold me down, I just re-up and then I just reload it. Yeah, hey, look, stay in the moment.
Welcome to another episode of In the Moment. This is episode 282. I am your host, Mo Mitch. Like I said, I'm feeling a little under the weather, but I'm doing the best that I can. Y'all, please bear with me. It has been a week. My lady is joining us, the producer, if you will. She is via telephone all the way from New York City. Hey, love.
Hey.
I have a conversation that I need to have with her later in the podcast. She has no idea that we're having it. She's unaware, but I think it's going to be fun and it should help make for a entertaining show on Sunday. Speaking of which, if you are in the Virginia Beach area, February 22nd, that is this Sunday, I am live at the Funny Bone, the brand new renovated Funny Bone. I built the old one, so it was only right that they bring me back for the new one. All right, and if you got a funny bone in your body, which I'm sure you've hit that thing once or twice and it was not funny. However, I will be this Sunday in Virginia Beach at the Funny Bone. If you have not already got your tickets, please do. 6 p.m. on Sunday is showtime.
It's in Virginia Beach, but if you're in Richmond, if you're in the DC area and you want to take a road trip, even, North Carolina?
Yeah, I don't care where you are. You be in California. Bring your ass to Virginia Beach this Sunday. But if you are closer, that obviously makes it easier as the Therapy in Real Time tour continues. And I thank y'all for being here with me once again. I also want to get to the Ja Rule and 50 Cent fight, Shia LaBeouf. I want to get to some things my friends and people around me keep doing that I absolutely cannot stand. And we have a hot seat question lined up for you later in this podcast as well. With all that being said, let's not forget that it is indeed Black History Month. Shout out to Erin Jackson, who was the first black female athlete of Team USA to win gold in speed skating at the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics and the first to win the race since 1994. She's competing now in the Winter Olympics, and I want to give her a shout out. That is always an incredible feat. So shout out to her and happy Black History Month. Let's get into why I'm mad.
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
All right, first reason I'm mad. You know, I used to box. You know this. And I still love boxing. And there were two fights that I want to get to out the gate. But before I do that, I was watching this promo of these two boxers who are currently about to box. And this happens a lot. And I wonder if anybody ever thinks about the fighter that gets tossed in the middle of this conversation. But when two fighters are about to fight each other, if they have both fought someone else, this happens often, especially if both fighters won against that person. That person becomes the punching bag of a fight they're not involved in. I'll give you an example. It's two fighters, right? They about to fight. And they be like, yo, did you beat John? Yeah, I beat John. But I beat John worse than you. But I beat John in 2 rounds. I beat John in 3 rounds. I had John calling for his mother. I beat John into, yo, fam, if I'm John, there's no other way that y'all can compare talent. You're not gonna sit here at a promo.
Each other?
Yeah, over who beat me the best. Like, we're not doing that. I'm a grown man. You gotta fight me again. I seen these two fighters do that this weekend, and it made me think of 2 other fighters, Ja Rule and Shia LaBeouf.
You saw that?
I did. And the Ja Rule fight is a little old now, so I'm not going to stay here long. But I just want to say, y'all know I'm a fan of 50. I have been. I cannot deny that. I'm also a fan of Ja. And I know Ja personally, and I know a lot of Ja's people personally, and I've worked with them. So I'm always hesitant to speak about these things. But if I'm going to be honest, a lot of the time, if you look back on these interactions that Murder Inc. has had with G-Unit, Murder Inc. has won most of them. And I know you're not supposed to say that out loud, but it's true. I was there for one of them. Ja wasn't the loser. That's all I'm going to say. And I wasn't there for this one, but when the first clip came out, Uncle Murder and Tony Yayo were on a first-class flight.
Suck ass job on the plane. Trying to punch suck ass up. You fucking sucker.
From San Francisco back to New York before the Super Bowl. And they're flying Delta One. Ja Rule happens to be sitting in front of them. They have an ongoing beef. G-Unit and Murder Inc. have been beefing for longer than I've been alive. Now, the easy part to address here is it's corny. They should not be beefing at this age. You damn sure shouldn't be beefing on a plane, but what are you going to do? These two people get stuck on a plane. Anytime you hear 2 grown men trying to out-sucker each other, use a sucker. No, use a sucker. No, use a sucker. That's how you know these men are too old to be fighting. They were one insult away from using jive turkey.
They're too old to be fighting.
Or
sucker, at least in public.
If sucker is your go-to insult, you are too old to be fighting. That's just a fact, right? You jive turkey. No, you a jive turkey. So I'm seeing this. And then they cut it up and tried to make it seem like they punked Ja. They did not punk Ja. More footage came out when Ja was saying, let's shake. And then Yayo and Uncle Murder did not want to shake. I think even if your name starts with Uncle, you too old to be fighting, even if it ends in murder. And nobody wants to fight on a plane. Nobody wants to get a Fed charge. Ja Rule ends up having to leave the plane because they say he got loud on purpose to get kicked off. I don't know what Ja did, but I know I couldn't do a first-class flight with my ops sitting directly behind me throwing peanuts at me the whole flight either. Now, Shia LaBeouf is too old, too rich, too everything to be out here having a bar fight. We've all been in a bar fight or two. I get it. I don't know how this fight started. I did my research on it. I couldn't find it. It's alleged that he said some racist things. I also saw that he just went to New Orleans to turn up. I don't know what's true.
Mardi Gras. It's Mardi Gras season out there.
And if you've had a grenade or two, then it can be explosive. Now, Shia LaBeouf got to get a little more buff if he going to be walking around here just getting into fights. But I think this is just as corny, man. And to the guys that always think it's so tough to talk shit and knock out somebody that is that drunk out their mind, I've always thought this was whack. That knocking out somebody who was barely coherent doesn't make you like that. And getting stripes off of it doesn't make you like that. If Shia LaBeouf did not already ruin all of his relationships, Bumblebee would have came through there whooping ass. They are very lucky that Shia LaBeouf was not in his Optimus Prime and did not still have Bumblebee's number. because it would have got this stinging. But I just think this is whack, and I just want to say that beating up anyone who is that incoherent doesn't make you tough. And with his kind of success, what are you doing? I'm mad at the fact that this was a debate, so I'm going to ask you a question and see what you think. How much time does Ish buy you? When someone says, I'll be there by 9-ish, how much time does that buy them before you say, all right, now you're pushing it?
30 minutes.
I thought this was like obvious. I thought Ish bought everybody 30 minutes. Somebody tried to debate me that Ish buys you an hour.
No.
Ish is 30 minutes, right? Like at the point that you say 9-ish, I think some people would give you 15 minutes of grace. I would go as far as 30. But I think once you get to 9:31, now that's 10-ish. Now we're closer to 10-ish.
You round up.
You round up, right? So Ish buys you 30 minutes, 15 to 30, but 30 max. Why do people send me my own stories?
I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
I never understood this. Somebody is always sending me my story and laughing at it, telling me that this was funny, which is fine, but why do you send the story? This is why I don't have any storage in my phone, because I forget to delete stuff like this. Well, you don't think I saw the story that I posted? Like, you don't think that maybe I might have just happened to have seen it? Why are you sending it? I know what my story is. I never got this. Is it me?
No, I don't. I wouldn't get it either.
I'm mad at the fact that Meta has patented AI that can run a dead person's account, continuing to post and chat on their behalf. It can message and video call by replicating a user's online behavior using their past data. How do you feel about this?
That seems a bit invasive.
I mean, I obviously saw the obvious take on this was no one wants this. No one asks for this. I'm not certain that I would want anything to do with this. However, to just pretend like there aren't people in the world who will see this technology and actually use it to talk to, let's say, their significant other who has passed after they are gone, I think we're fooling ourselves. I think a lot of people would be interested in this technology.
Do you think that you sign off on that when you sign up for an account on Facebook, Instagram, or any of the social media platforms?
I have no idea what you sign off on. I've never read one of those things in my life. I have no clue. But if you had an opportunity to continue to speak to someone you love and it was capable, it had the capability of researching everything they've ever said and done and responding to the point where you really can't tell the difference, you really think this is them, you wouldn't be interested?
No, because that's not the person. The person's no longer here.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I do have voicemails still from people who have passed so that I can still hear their voice. But I couldn't see myself taking it to this level. I wish I had that. Yeah, I still have voicemails from my best friend. I still have voicemails from my grandmother. But yeah, this is a whole new level. I couldn't see myself sitting there continuing a conversation with someone who's gone. But I do think a lot more people are going to be interested in this than we believe. And I also think this is just an example of how scary AI is really becoming. I just saw what you sent me resurface as you can be a guy now and literally turn yourself into a woman and talk to somebody. Have someone completely thinking that you're a woman on FaceTime or vice versa.
That's scary.
It's all scary. I think if you're paying attention, AI is making it to where in a year or so, maybe even less, how could we possibly know what's real and what's not? And you look at 20, 30 years down the line, how do they know? People the generations of people who were being born in this AI era. How do they know what about history is real and what's not? They can tell you anything is real, and they can also tell you anything is fake. And you don't know. Because AI has just got started. It's a lot of people saying, oh, you can tell. That's now. That's now. When this technology is picking up. They got the whole AI of Will Smith eating spaghetti. It's way better now than when it first started. I really thought Will Smith was eating spaghetti. So that's how good everything is going to become. And it's scary. You know the stories about people calling their grandparents and the grandparents getting fooled out of a lot of money because they actually used AI to make the grandparent believe it was their grandchild on the phone.
That or people calling in ransoms, right?
It's scary, man. This AI thing is really getting out of hand, and I think Allen Iverson should do something about it. Speaking of basketball, all of the GOATs are on the line, and it all happened fast. Michael Jordan went viral for what a lot of people thought was disgusting behavior of him pinching a little boy's rear end at a NASCAR event where he won as an owner. Apparently, Michael Jordan is one of those people who just continue to win in life. The truth came out later. It always does. And it appears that there was ice, apparently, in this little boy's pants. And Jordan was trying to shake out the ice, and then he was wiping his leg. But if you only seen that clip for a second, your brain probably went, what the hell is Michael Jeffrey Jordan doing? That's what mine did. And I made a video immediately saying, I'm not sure what he's doing. I'm not going to jump out and call Mike the P word. We're not doing that. At the same time, whatever that is, because they also found an old clip of Mike during a I Want to Be Like Mike commercial, and apparently he was patting a boy on the butt back then too. And I know ball players do this, man, but the kid ain't hit a jumper. He ain't make a free throw. I never got the patting on the butt thing after a good play. But whatever it is, I told Mike, take your Nikes off and just don't do it.
But wait, was that old clip AI or was it actual footage that you can find in something from like 10 years ago?
And that's my point. And that right there is exactly my point. Now, I happen to know that that's not AI because I remember seeing it as a kid. But if you didn't see it, you don't know. You don't know. That is my whole point. That's the scary part of it. I don't think Mike was doing anything wrong here. The kid's father spoke out about it and said he knows Mike and he knows Mike's family and there was nothing to worry about here. But that did look crazy. And if you are the father of a child and you see another grown man patting your child's butt, and you might not be looking for ice. You might not think ice has anything to do with it. Kevin Durant, another NBA player, they found a burner, another burner. This guy's known for having a burner account. He's an NBA player with millions of dollars, and for some reason, he still likes to argue with people online. They found a burner now. In the most recent one, he's talking crazy about teammates. He's talking crazy about friends. He's talking crazy about the league. He's calling them the R word, a lot of different insults, and it just doesn't look good for him. LeBron James, another GOAT basketball player, was doing a press conference, and they asked him about Israel. And these questions, they set you up for these questions. They do. They know who to ask these questions and who not to ask these questions because they didn't ask Kyrie Irving this question. They know Kyrie going to stand on business. LeBron up there dumb. He don't know what to say. With all due respect to LeBron. I do. I got love for LeBron. But he never knows what to say. It's like this man is lost in a savannah every time they ask him a question about something. And they asked him what his thoughts were on Israel, and he said,
"Fans over there, I've never been there. If I have fans over there, then I hope you've been following my career. I hope I inspire people over there to not only want to be great in sports, but I want just to be better in general in life. So hopefully someday I can make it over there. Like I said, I've never been over there, but I've heard nothing but great things, and I appreciate the question."
I have never heard a bad thing about Israel. And that just can't be true.
Is he hiding under a rock?
I don't know. That just can't be true. You'd have been better off saying something to the extent of, I don't want to get into the politics of it because I don't know enough. And you're the same guy who came out and fought against the narrative of when the woman, I don't know her name, was saying that all basketball players, all athletes should shut up and dribble. And then now you come out and say something like this. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous narrative to set as somebody this famous. You just better off not saying anything than saying, I've never heard of anything bad about Israel. At the same time, in early 2026, allegedly, Steph Curry, another NBA superstar, is facing scrutiny and criticism following reports that his venture capital firm, Penny Jar Capital, has invested in Israeli technology companies with ties to the country's military intelligence apparatus. I don't know how true that is. That's alleged, but 4 NBA GOATs all up for question in one day. Oh, and while we're here, my take on the NBA All-Star game this year is the same as last. Ass. It's a 4-pack of ass. They tried. Shout out to Wembley. Shout out to Anthony Edwards for playing hard and for making it somewhat enjoyable. But I really don't know what they need to do with the All-Star game, but something. The dunk contest? Jason Richardson's son came out there and died. He fell on his head.
I saw that on social media. Is he okay?
I don't think so. He ruined his family's legacy. This man went out there and fell on his head. They was doing all kind of he died memes. This is not the dunk contest. The dunk contest used to be something where you would get all your people together, y'all would have a drink. It was like a fight night. It was lit. This is horrible. They didn't want to get Mac out there again. He had won it the last 3 or 4 years because allegedly the player said that if he does it again, they wouldn't play. So he's out there doing dunks for Instagram that are 10 times better than the dunks these guys are doing at the actual dunk contest. The NBA has to do something. What does it matter if no one else will dunk? If he would have been the only one dunking, that would have been more entertaining. We didn't need the other guy. One guy is dancing the whole time. He's just dancing. He's barely dunking. He's just dancing and pulling up his shirt. It's horrible, man. Dr. J is 143 years old and gave the trophy away thinking to himself, I could do that today. Time for dumbest take of the week. This was a dumb take, but I also understand it. I just think it's hilarious. They asked Devin Booker, who is an NBA player, plays for the Phoenix Suns, also famous for having once dated Kendall Jenner. This reporter asked him what he thought about the Bad Bunny halftime show.
Okay.
From the Grammys to the Benito Bowl to now,
Yeah.
how does it feel to be a part of that milestone? And also, for the fans in Puerto Rico, what do you think about Bad Bunny's performance?
I'm Mexican.
I know, but how does it feel to be part of the momentum of the Latino culture?
I didn't watch it, to be completely honest.
Now, this is hilarious to me for 2 reasons. One, I had no idea Devin Booker was Mexican.
Neither did I.
I don't think anyone knew this information. Apparently, he is Mexican, and I didn't know this. I don't know if he knew this until it was the perfect time to use this information. He didn't watch the halftime show because him and Bad Bunny are Eskimo cousins. That's why. That's the real reason.
Oh, that's why they asked him.
She was with both of them.
Yep.
Yeah, you could have booked me for not watching the halftime show either. Why would he be watching it? Yeah, nah. They asking Devin Booker if he saw the Bad Bunny halftime show is actually hilarious. It's no different than asking him if he watched Ben Simmons working on his jump shot.
So Bad Bunny has a lyric in one of his songs called Coco Chanel, and it says yo no soy malo, na bebé, eso es un gimmick, porque el sol de PR calienta más que el de Phoenix. So basically, he's saying, I'm not bad, nah, or I'm not mean, nah, baby. This is just a gimmick because the Puerto Rican sun is warmer than the one in Phoenix. So I guess that's why Devin Booker didn't watch the Super Bowl performance.
Oh, that's not why. That's not exactly the warm thing that kept him from watching it. However, that is a bar, and that's a shot. I ain't know Bad Bunny was out here taking digs. That's just another thing I've heard about Bad Bunny that's made me like him more. The sun in Puerto Rico is way better than that sun in Phoenix. Book it. Question of the week. I have two of them, and I want to ask you about both of these. My first question, Russell Wilson and Ciara did a hot wing challenge. I thought it was really good. It was funny. Russell asked Ciara who is the biggest diva she's ever been in the studio with, and that got her to eat a wing. She didn't want to answer it, and then she asked the question.
Which ring is more important to you, your Super Bowl ring or your wedding ring?
All right, what are we doing? Can we be honest here? That was a great question, great for the moment. Do you really expect an athlete to say that his wedding ring is worth more to him or means more to him, however you want to phrase it, than his Super Bowl ring?
Yes, because who do you sleep with at night? Me or your football?
I slept with the football for the majority of my life in order to make it to the Super Bowl. I slept with you for however long they've been married. But he's a lot older than he is married. So technically, he slept with that football a lot longer. That's all I'm saying.
How many babies do they have together?
I'm not sure. How many?
That's how many times she put her life at risk.
Okay, he put
for
his
their
life at
love.
risk every
And you
time he
still-
put a
and
helmet
you
on.
Still love that football, the Super Bowl ring?
Every time he put a
More than our
helmet
wedding
on,
ring?
he put his life at risk. So now we talking about little leagues, high school, college, NFL. Every time.
I guess. I said, damn, you couldn't just say the wedding ring?
Oh, so you wanted him to lie?
No, but I mean, okay, so you think that he prefers his Super Bowl ring over his wedding band?
I don't think that I know that when he ate the wing, which is why
Okay.
I thought eating the wing was foolish because
An answer.
it's an answer. When you eat the
Yeah,
wing, you're
so did I.
saying my Super Bowl ring. So you might as well just say it. That's how I saw it. I think circumstances matter when you look at how your marriage came to be and how did your Super Bowl ring come to be. I think you have to account for all of these things. He's a quarterback. That's different than the guy who really didn't get in the game. That's different than the guy who got a ring we don't really know. It's just a whole different ball game. Ciara, he got married later in life. It wasn't like the high school sweetheart situation that a lot of us yearn for. I don't know if these things play a factor. I think they do. But in his case, I wasn't surprised that he chose the Super Bowl ring, or the wing, if you will, over the wedding ring. I mean, it's a lot. It takes a lot as a professional athlete to get to a Super Bowl. That's all you want. That's everything. And for some, that could be marriage. But for most professional athletes, I'm not sure that it is.
No, I understand. He's worked for it his whole life. He probably started in Little League, like you said, and he hasn't won another Super Bowl in a few years, so I get it. It's kind of like I was gonna say it's kind of like a once in a lifetime thing, but so is marriage. So I was trying to
No, it's
convince
not.
myself, but no, I'm not.
No, it's not. Marriage is not a once in a lifetime thing at all.
Why not?
Because plenty of people choose to get married more than once. Way more people don't have a Super Bowl ring or have one Super Bowl ring than people who have been married more than once. You have a much better chance in life of getting married once or twice than you do of winning a Super Bowl ring. Much better chance. I could go get married twice right now if I really want to. It'd take one trip to Vegas. But I can't just go win a Super Bowl ring. What do you think about this message that allegedly came from Stephon Diggs after the public breakup with Cardi? It says a message allegedly from Stephon Diggs to Cardi B is making waves online, and it's got people talking. According to the message, Stephon feels he's now being painted as the villain for simply living the life Cardi already knew he had. He says she's walked into a man's life that came with history, children, responsibilities, and co-parents. And none of that magically disappears because of a relationship. He addressed the Super Bowl situation directly, saying the presence of his child's mother wasn't disrespect, but reality and maturity, especially since his own mother invited her. Ignoring the mother of his child, he says would have been insecurity and not loyalty. On a newborn and fairy tale expectations, Stephon allegedly made it clear, you don't get the title without the weight. You can't play step queen when it's convenient and play victim when reality shows up. According to him, the issue wasn't embarrassment. It was being confronted with the truth of the situation she chose. And when the cameras came on, she folded. Moral lesson, dating someone with a past means accepting the full picture, not just the highlights. Real life doesn't pause for comfort. Is this truth or gaslighting?
For the most part, everybody does come with a past. But does that mean that she deserved to be treated the way that she was? No. However, I feel like she knew what she was walking into.
And that's where
I don't see how she thought this would end any differently.
That's where I'm conflicted. Because if you knew what you were walking into, then you deserve it. I see that take a lot. And I'm on Team Cardi. I'm actually Team Cardi with this. I think in this situation, yeah, you could say that he embarrassed her and she decided to leave, and respect. Nothing off about that. But to not have seen this coming, if you knew that this man was this man, which apparently she didn't, I mean, he has 6 kids on her in 1 year. 6 kids in 1 year, and you're still there? You talking about a Super Bowl? Can you imagine the size of the bowl that you're going to need to make breakfast for all these kids? I don't get the she didn't deserve it part. She walked right into that. What did you expect? But I don't know. Deserve is a tricky word. A lot of the times we do things, we're human, we do foolish things, and we reap foolish results, and we don't always deserve them. So I don't know what she deserves. I don't know Cardi enough to know what she deserves, but I can certainly tell you that this was no shock. And it's quite often in life that people do things, and then when it happens, when the results of their actions now come home to roost, they like to sit in this place of just being a victim and pretending that their actions had nothing to do with the results. And I don't necessarily respect that. All right, so let's get to this stalker story.
Let's get to it.
Do you know that I have a stalker?
Tell me about it.
Or had, I should say. There was a point in my life where I was just starting out in my comedic career, and I had just started doing stages. And I had this fan who would come to every show and sit front row. And after a while, I recognized her because she was the only person who was coming to every single show and sitting in the same seat. And I appreciated it for a while. Wait, why is that weird?
For someone to be like just sit on, basically have the same seat at every show. You didn't even try to hide?
I didn't think it was weird. I just thought she was a fan, a supporter, a super supporter. I mean, and there were people other than her, in her defense, who did come to every show. They just didn't always get the same seat. But I guess she got there early enough, or she signed up or bought a ticket quick enough, because at some point I was doing free shows, and at some point I wasn't. And she just was always in that same seat. And
Was she at the last one in New York?
No, I haven't seen her in a few years.
Oh, because the way that people ran into the venue in New York, it was given maybe some type of stalkerish. That's why I asked.
The way people
They
were running
ran.
into the venue?
Yes.
I didn't know people were running into the venue. What happened?
So I went out to try to save a seat. And I went out right when they opened the doors, and it was like people were like rushing through the door.
Nah, I didn't know anything about that. Well, she wasn't in New York. I haven't seen her in a while. But she used to show up to all of my Virginia shows, even though she lived in New York. Weird thing, I know. But I'm wondering if she'll be there in Virginia. Because I haven't heard from her. It's been years. But when I first started, I didn't think it was weird that she came to every show until one particular show. She came to a show once, and this is probably my 10th show at this point, and she bought me a gift. Have I ever told you this story?
No, you haven't.
The gift was a bottle of Hennessy, VSOP Hennessy. And I thought it was a really nice gift because I obviously talked about Hennessy a lot at this time. And I didn't think much of it. It was just like, okay, wow, this is my new introduction to becoming a comedian and starting to develop a fan base. One day I got a Facebook message, and it was from my manager at the time. And my manager said, there's a fan that reached out to you and is saying you're not answering. And so now she has reached out to me, and she's claiming that she left her house keys in a gift that she gave you accidentally. So I said, what? And he's like, did someone give you a gift? I'm like, yeah. He said, we might want to check the bag. So I go check the bag. And I'm like, there's no way. At this point, I hadn't opened the bottle yet. I just kind of had it in my bar area. So I go in the bag. Now, this is why it's funny. Because when I go in the bag, I take the Hennessy out. The Hennessy is in a box. And the box is in the bag. And there's like gift paper at the bottom of the bag. So when I take the box out of the bag, all I see is gift paper. So I'm like, what keys? Then obviously I take the gift paper out the bag. And there they are. Under the gift paper. Now, how did the keys accidentally get placed under the gift paper in this bag underneath the bottle of Hennessy? My mind tells me this was no accident. But what I'm going to do? So I tell my manager, yo, I have the keys. And he's like, all right, well, I'm going to come get the keys, and then I'm going to meet up with her to give her the keys because this situation is eerie, and I don't think the two of you should be meeting. So I said, I bet. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but I'm glad he was ahead of it because as I have come to learn, it was. He comes and he picks up the keys. He takes the keys to her. She's now writing me on Facebook at this time. I have a Facebook. And she's like, oh, my God. Now I see the message after the fact. And it's like, oh, my God, I can't believe I did this, but I left my house keys. I have no way to get into my home. I have to have those keys. Is there any way that you can meet me here and drop my keys off? I'm way ahead of the game, right? No way in hell am I doing that. Now, I'm assuming she's thinking that I was going to be with it, and this was her way of sliding in the DMs, if you will. That's what I'm thinking. So he comes and he gets the keys. I respond and I say, yo, I'm glad it all worked out. My manager has your keys. He's on his way to meet you now. It's been a pleasure having you at all my shows, and I'm going to go ahead and enjoy this gift you gave me, which I did. Her response was what you would expect. She was disappointed that I wasn't bringing the keys personally, but she was grateful to have her keys nonetheless. And mind you, it had been a good 2 or 3 days since she sent that message saying she couldn't get into her house. So I don't know what she did in that time. I just was a little turned off by the fact that I just don't know how those keys could have accidentally ended up in that bag. Didn't make a lot of sense to me. Does that make sense to you?
I mean, if you're rushing, I've seen that happening like maybe around Christmas time when you're just packing stuff and you're going to your mom's house. But as a gift to somebody that I don't know, not really.
Well, fair enough, right?
I wouldn't do that.
Let's just say somehow she did accidentally drop those keys in that bag, right? And I'm trying to give her grace. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. Like, damn, I would be so embarrassed. Can you imagine? You try to do something nice for someone that you admire, that you are supporting, that you are looking out for, and now this. But she gets her keys back, all good. In the message, she says something to the extent of, maybe we can get together sometime, something like that. And I'm like, all right, I don't want to be an ass and say that's not going to happen. So I did the next best thing and I just didn't respond to the message, respectfully, thinking that would be the end of it. Well, then I have a show in Virginia. Mind you, she lives in New York, far as I know. I go to Virginia. This is my first special. First time I've ever done an hour on stage. She's there. I don't know she's there. I don't see her. Thankfully, because it probably would have threw me. But I start getting sent clips of my specials. Things that people have posted. She's one of the people who posted it. So I'm like, oh, she drove out. Wow. So at this point, I'm still giving it a grace. Like, all right, that's cool. I go have cigars by the beach with some of my uncles, some of my family, and I get a call from my grandmother. We're all staying in the same resort. Grandma says, Reese, this is amazing. I'm so proud of you. Everyone is here. Family is here. People are popping in and out of my room. There's even a fan here who says she loves you, and I just got to know her. I said, Grandma, you said a what now? Who was there? She said, one of your fans are here. I said, which one? She said, I don't know her. Now, I have a lot of supporters today. It probably would hit me a little different today. I would think it was one of y'all who I know, because a lot of y'all have been to my shows and have met my grandmother. I think a couple of y'all have my grandmother's number. So today, I probably wouldn't even think twice about it. But then, I ain't have supporters like that. So this was new territory. So I'm like, Grandma, what are you saying? So she's like, I don't know. They're here right now. I said, Grandma, I'm on my way. Because I'm concerned, right? So I leave the beach. I leave the cigars. I leave this whole moment we're having. I run to the resort, to the room where my grandmother is. And once I get there, I see her. She's in my grandmother's room. Now, mind you, the only exchange we've ever had was that gift and that message. There's never been we're not friends like that. How the hell did she get to my grandmother's room? I don't have a clue. So I don't know at this point how this happened. I see her and I go, Grandma, I don't know that young lady. She goes, you don't know her? I said, no, Grandma, I have no idea what that is. She's come to a couple shows. She gave me a gift. It was this weird thing with a key. But I'm not comfortable with her being in your room. And she's like, oh, my God, well, what do we do? I said, we're not going to make a scene. We're not going to embarrass her. But we have to get her out of your room. I would feel a little safer if her and whomever she's with wasn't in your room. So she says, okay, I said, I'll take care of it. So what do? I go tell Money, one of my good friends. Yo, we got a stalker situation. And he goes, who and where? I tell him. And he goes, I'll be right back. I said, what are you going to do? He said, it's not your concern. Do you want her out of your grandmother's room? I said, yes, sir. But please don't. Before I could explain to him how I wanted this done, he's already walking off, right? To this day, I don't know what Money said to this woman. I don't know what the interaction was. He wouldn't tell me. He did not want me to know, which I respect, because if you know me, that's me. I don't want to know how it gets done. I'm trying to enjoy myself. And that's what he was accomplishing. So he handled it. He got her out that room. I don't know how that happened or what went down, but he got her out that room. As I'm going now, I'm walking back towards where everybody was with the cigars after I stopped to get a drink with another friend. I happen to run into her and who she's with. And she's trying to get my attention. And I say hello, but I'm also a little bothered by the fact that she was that close to my grandmother. And we don't have any mutual people that we know. And she says, they're kicking me out, but I'll see you again soon. The next time you're in Virginia. And I want to say she said she loved me. That's the last time I saw her or heard from her. The only way that she could contact me was Facebook, and eventually my Facebook was canceled. But this is the first time I'm going to be back in Virginia since that statement was made.
So Money scared her out your life.
I think so. I don't know what he did and what he said. I'm going to have to reach out to him to actually find out. But which Money can do. If you know Money, he scared quite a few people out of my life. But is she going to be at the show on Sunday? And if she is, how will you react? How will you feel?
Probably creeped out. But it's like, how would I know who she is?
Yeah, I don't have a picture.
So were you friends with her on Facebook at some point?
No, we were never friends of any sort. No, she was a complete supporter. And she never did anything super weird. Like, those things are weird, but she never, like, truly violated. She just left the keys, and she ended up in my grandmother's room. Those were the two things that she did. She never did anything more than that.
That's super weird.
It is. It's a lot. Lines were crossed. But she never did enough for me to, like, I talked about it on air, in fact. And people were like, maybe you should call the police. And I was like, nah, I'm not going that far. But there were friends and family that were genuinely concerned for me because of the fact that she drove all the way from New York to Virginia, and apparently she got close to someone in the family. I don't know exactly who. It's been alleged that it's been an aunt, and someone also said it was a cousin. I don't know who it was. She got close to somebody in the family, close enough to where she got the location. And she pulled up and she figured out a way to get to my grandmother's room. I don't know what she thought was going to happen.
Did she have a crush on you?
Well, I would imagine so. I don't know. That's such a girlfriend question. How is that even relevant?
How is that a girlfriend question?
How is it relevant? I imagine so. I don't know. You think she was doing all of that for somebody she thought was unattractive?
I mean, no.
I want to know more so how you feel about if she pulls up on Sunday, her seat is in front of yours. Now she's Ja Rule, you're Uncle Murder and Yayo. You in the back.
So basically, I'm going to be throwing my phone at her head.
I don't know. When she looks around and says to you, I've been supporting him since day one. Who are you? Why are you sitting up here with me?
Thank you for the support.
You are so non-confrontational that I can't even get a fake beef out of you when I'm trying. But this is authentic, y'all. This is the reality. All right. Well, you're not worried about the stalker on Sunday then?
No, but I'm going to be keeping my eyes out to see who it is.
All right, now let's get into the hot seat question.
Okay, hot seat question. I've asked you this once before on Patreon, but I'm going to ask you here. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So, what's one thing that you regret about your time in radio?
Oh, that's always a tough question because there's so many things I could say. And for those who may not know me, I have a lot of regrets. I'm not the person who's no regrets. I have a ton. There's a lot of things I wish I could have done differently in my life. I think that's normal. I think that's just being honest. If I had to really think of the biggest one that I still sometimes think about, because I don't think about it much anymore, I would say not speaking up enough when I probably should have. I beat myself up for that a lot. And it's just because I was so new at radio and at figuring this whole industry out. And there were a lot of times I just didn't say anything. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. When you're uncomfortable, when it's awkward. And people who know me will think that's weird. Because I'm never the guy to hold back. I always speak my mind. I always say what I feel. I always articulate myself in spaces when most people would probably not. But because it felt like a job to me, it felt like I needed to be professional at all times. It was no different than anyone else's job. When you go to work, you may not say what you really feel. You may not tell people what you really think. You hold back a bit because you want to keep your job. You are uncomfortable. You are uncertain of what this truth will really do to the room and to people. And I think one is a natural element to me where I'm just reserved. I'm a reserved person. And I didn't realize how truly reserved I was until I got around people who didn't have any of that. They just quick to go, jump, leap, talk, always feel as if their opinion is as important or more important than everyone else's in the room. Always feel as if what they have to say is more important than what the next person has to say. So they'll jump out there so much faster than you that if you continue to hesitate enough, well, your time won't come. And it took me years to really figure that out and to navigate that. And I held back because it's just in my nature to reserve myself. That's always who I've been. And if I'm not entertaining, if I'm not in that world, most of y'all know me from doing a podcast or from doing comedy or from doing social media. So that's all you know of me. But if I'm not in that space, I'm quiet. I'm very quiet, very to myself. Never the person in the room saying the most or doing the most. And when you get put in a room where people naturally do that, and now you have to figure that out, it takes time to adjust. And I also think I suffered with wanting to be liked. I wanted to be liked for a lot of my time in radio. And I wish I could change that, because you spend all of that time trying to be liked just to end up being the guy that's hated anyway. It's a waste of time to always try to get everybody to think the best of you, to always want to please everybody, to always, if I say this, it might rub this person the wrong way. If I say that, it might rub that person the wrong way. It might make people think that I'm this kind of a person when that's not merely who I am. That's just my opinion on this subject. And you overthink things like that. And it gets to the point where you just don't say anything. People start criticizing you. Colleagues start criticizing you. Your peers start criticizing you. Your family, your friends start criticizing you for all the opinions you have. And you're getting paid to have opinions. You're getting paid to talk for a living. At some point, you're going to say something people don't agree with. At some point, you might say something you don't agree with when you go back and listen to it. Like, I don't really feel that way. Why the hell did I say that? But you're constantly just reaching for things to say. You're always trying to be funny, trying to entertain, and you're talking every day, all the time. It's not an easy thing to do, especially without making yourself look stupid or misinformed at some point. And I got in my head a lot with that. Didn't want to rock the boat. Didn't want to create any waves. Oh, I could really go deep there. Oh, I could really make this person look like a hypocrite here. But should I? Is it worth it? Is the entertainment factor of it worth what it may do to our friendship or what it may do to our relationship in the end? What it may do to the room? What it may do to the studio? I think of these things, and I didn't say things a lot of the time. And I really regret that. I wish I would have. I wish I would have just took whatever came with standing on business, because the results would probably be similar. I don't know if I would have had the tenure that I've had, because a lot of the times you go against the grain, they get you out of there a little quicker. I was aware of that. There's things that would happen off air a lot of the time, and I wouldn't say anything. And I struggle with that too, because sometimes you got to stand up for yourself. Other times it's kind of like when people say, well, why didn't you say something? Well, I didn't feel like I had to. Why would I have to say something? Why are you doing these things to where I would have to step up and say, hey, that's a problem. That's insulting. That's racist. Whatever it is. Why do I have to tell you that? Why do I have to be the gatekeeper of these things? Why? You know, like, you ever been in a situation, somebody keep trying you or playing with you in whatever way they making you feel uncomfortable, and then the moment you finally say something, they'll say, well, why didn't you ever say anything? Well, because why the hell do I have to? Why are you not bettering yourself or putting yourself in a better position to where you're not even putting me in the defensive position to have to say something to you? And the moment I do, I also know where that's going to go. Now we're dealing with a whole different bag of things that can go wrong once I open up that can of worms of saying something. So now you're torn, you're stuck. When is it worth it to say something? When is it worth it to hold back and just take notes? Sometimes it's better to just sit back, not react, and take notes, so that when you do say something, you have 10 different examples, because I've been there. I've been where I'll say, hey, you did this to me. Well, that was an off day. What about this day? Oh, well, that day. And they're going to have an excuse. They have 20 excuses. But at least I know once you make 20 excuses, that there's only one problem. That's you. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
because of that, I held back a lot. And that's not only in radio, that's just in my life. I held back in a lot of cases, thinking maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm seeing it wrong. Maybe I don't have it right. I don't want to be the person that's always rocking the boat. I don't always want to be the person who's making it an issue. But hey, sometimes you have to be that person, because everybody else is scared or they don't see it. But if you're uncomfortable sitting on that uncomfort for years because you don't want people to not like you, they're going to not like you anyway. They don't need a reason. They don't need an authentic space to not like you. I've had to learn that lesson the hard way. So if you're doing anything at all based upon if people are going to like you or not, stop. It's a waste of time. The people who are going to love you are going to love you. The people who are not are not. And if it's not today, it's going to be tomorrow. Eventually, they're going to show you who they really are. Don't do anything in life based off of wanting people to love you. Do it based off of what feels right to you. And you won't have these same regrets in the end. But there are a lot of times where I wish I would have stepped up and said what I actually felt instead of trying to keep it to myself in order to keep the peace. Because eventually you end up in pieces, because the people you're trying to keep the peace for are not going to be willing to do the same thing for you. All right, before we get out of here, I want to say a couple of things. I saw this Jill Scott piece where she was speaking to the Why Did I Get Married character, where she had to wear a heavy suit, and how it made her feel and what it did for her life. If you're not familiar, Jill Scott is a singer. She is also an actress. And she did a Tyler Perry movie. called Why Did I Get Married? And she played a role of a heavier woman. And here's what she had to say about it.
I didn't like how much people would make fun of her.
No.
I didn't like that. I remember the scene on the plane. And man, the scene on the plane, Tyler had extras make fun of me when I got on the plane.
What?
They were just going back and forth making jokes about Sheila's weight. And obviously, you know, I had on a whole fat suit and it was cumbersome. You know, so the walk was genuine and the sitting down was genuine and all the things. And then I practiced in it quite a bit so that it felt genuine to the character. But the folks on the flight really went in on fat jokes. And it sucked.
Did you know they were
really
going to
hurt.
do
No, I
this?
did not.
That's like abusive
I did
a little
not.
bit like.
I felt like it was.
I thought this was interesting because, well, I've always liked Jill Scott. And I never thought about this perspective. And body shaming, body positivity, just body awareness has increased in the past few years. And I think that's a good thing. There was certainly a time when I grew up when you joke on somebody's appearance and that was just kicking the shit, shooting the dozens, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't a big deal. And I think amongst your circle, you can still do that today. But I do appreciate the fact that we are way more aware of what that can do to somebody's self-esteem and how it can increase insecurity. And that's something that I was once unaware of when you speak of regrets. Because I take a lot of time after confrontations to sit with myself and ask myself what I did wrong and where I could be better. And it's not always for the individual that I had the confrontation with. A lot of the time it's for myself. Because I feel like you can always improve and you can always learn, even when you were in the right. And there was definitely this point in my radio career where I got into a confrontation, and I think it stemmed from exactly that. I didn't want to do it. I was asked to do it, and I did it. And it was a joke off where I said some physical appearance jokes. Not thinking anything of it because it's a joke off amongst comedians. Looking back on it, I wonder if there's something for me to take from that, though. And I'll talk about the exact moment that happened, who it happened with, and why it happened on Patreon. But I think this is important to accept that times change, and so do people. And you should also, if you see growth and opportunity in changing, in which I don't see how you don't if your plan is to evolve. But it is something I thought about that I want to get your opinion on. And we'll hash it out if I were wrong on this matter or not in Patreon. And with that said, I'll end on a Noah's Ark. Rest in peace to James Vanderbeek. I believe that's how you say his name. I saw the photo with his friend, Alfonso Ribeiro, better known as Carlton Banks on The Fresh Prince. I will be honest, if you one of my friends, don't post that. I do not want you to post me in my last moments, you grabbing me by the head. Please don't post that of me. Keep your love for me private and let people remember me how they saw me. However, that is not my business. That is his friend. And if they were okay with it, then so am I. Now, I think it is one of the saddest things, but it's one of the realest things also, that he was a star on a huge show, and yet he could not afford treatment for cancer. Do I have this right?
He was also in some big films.
Now, I don't know what he did with his money. I don't know his life. Something tells me that a man with the career that he has had should be able to afford health care. That just says a lot to me. How can you have hope? It's like Kanye once said, if my grandmother played in the NBA, then right now would she be okay? It hurts, man. And it's good to see a friend by his side till the end. I know for a lot of us, we've lost friends before we get to that point. And this is going back to saying what I said earlier, that when I go through confrontations, I sit with myself and wonder where could I have gone better? What part did I play? And I've done that quite often, to be honest with y'all, with the last friend that I lost who used to be on this podcast. And I've asked you, where do you think I've gone wrong? And we've sat with it. And it's been a struggle to figure out where. One of the reasons was a joke. I laughed on the podcast. And even though it wasn't a genuine laugh, I actually choked. I did laugh looking back on it because I still think what happened was funny. And I've spoke about that on Patreon. But either way, I watched an interview today with Gilly and Wallow from $1 Million Worth of Game. Very, very popular podcast where they do interviews. And they spoke about how if you can't take a joke in this industry, if you cannot be laughed at, then you have no business in entertainment. This is entertainment. This is what we are put here to do. We get on these platforms every day and laugh at somebody and tell jokes about it. So when it's your turn, if your response is to pick up your ball and leave because someone told a joke about you, you have no business telling jokes about anybody else. If you as a grown individual run to someone else and say, hey, they laughed at me and I no longer want to be their friend, what are you doing laughing at anyone else? This is entertainment. And that stuck with me because I really did sit with myself and wonder, like, damn, did I laugh at him a little too hard as my friend? Meanwhile, these guys are cousins, best friends for all of these years, and all they do is laugh at each other. I don't even want to be your friend if we can't laugh at each other. And that's the line of where I speak about what I'm going to talk about on Patreon, where what once happened with a coworker compared to what once happened with a friend. And I found a lot of these videos that you have sent me with people saying why you cannot be friends with someone who admires you. You cannot be friends with someone who sees what you're doing as admirable. Because what happens when they realize that the reason you're doing these things so well and you make it look so easy is because it's your purpose and it's not theirs. Eventually, and practically immediately, that admiration will turn into jealousy. It'll turn into hate, with them having to sit there and watch you be great at everything they would give anything to be great at, but just haven't found that path yet. So you're the problem, because they have to now look in the mirror and realize that all of these changes you're making, they haven't, or they can't. And that love turns into hate. And it happens so fast that you'll end up beating yourself up for years trying to figure out what went wrong when it's no fault of yours. You can inspire from a distance, but the moment you start inspiring from within a circle, if that person does not figure out a way to make themselves at least feel as if they're on the same level as you and they have the same potential as you, well, eventually, they're not going to want to be in the same room with you. And I'll leave you with a quote that I heard from Keith Allen Crossley, which you sent me, because this Instagram video I thought was really good. And it breaks down everything that I'm saying much better than I actually can.
Gotta watch out for frenemies. A frenemy is someone who they smile at you, but secretly they're competing with you. And if you start to kind of pull back the curtain on the psychology of it, they admire qualities in you that they wish they had. And so there's this initial admiration that starts the friendship, but over time, they start shifting into envy. And that envy starts to turn into sabotage. They really want to be close to you because they're drawn to what you represent. But the irony is that the closer they get to you, that triggers their insecurity because it's reflecting back what they feel they lack. So they live in this weird contradiction. You know, on the surface they're supporting you, but there's this underlying resentment underneath it all. Can't have a true friendship with someone like that because there's a part of them that's secretly rooting for you to fall.
With that being said, if you're sticking around for the Patreon conversation, I'll see you there. And if not, I hope that some of what you heard here, if not all, was compelling and will help you on your journey of becoming a better human and seeking a better life. Next week, bitches.
I've learned that goodbyes are good riddance. In a committee you never know's committing. Bunch of cliques I never know where I fit in. Find a mic, your man mad daddy pippin'. Me, in any room that I sit in. Trippin'. Who the hell I'm kidding? I was never meant to be nice, it was written. But shit, I was meant to be more, I'm forgetting. Pressure, knowing I'll never fold. Jealousy since I was young, it's getting old. Can't buy that piece of my soul, I know I sold. Finally got somewhere warm and it made me cold. Go, it done made me a beast. Don't have enough life to even tell you the least. How to sacrifice my peace to find friends. They had to sacrifice my friends to find peace. It's a cycle, when nothing like you. Mostly cause nothing like you. Coward shoot from afar, need a rifle. The bullshit that come when you chasing Michael. It's ugly.